Hey everybody, how's it going? It is May 3rd. This is RambleCast time. Corbin could not be with us today. I don't know why. He's a bad friend. But that's the way it goes. So how's everybody doing? I see a very, very active chat room. How's it going, Diablo? I see Curvy in here. Austin. Is that oh, and Carson. How's everybody doing? We'll see. Who knows? Corbin may pop into chat or something. He didn't suggest that he would, but you never know. Weird things happen. Actually, it occurs to me I should probably, just in the offhand chance, I'll fire up the call just in case somebody pops in. Anyway, so spicy takes time. Exactly. We're gonna get some spice. We're gonna get a lot of spice. Man, it's not gonna be the friendliest stream. Oh yeah. Oops, I forgot to read one of these, but oh well. I'll throw that at the end because it's also probably the least interesting thing. Well, I don't know. Actually, yeah, maybe I'll hit that early on. We'll see. Lots of spice. So let's see. Quick run through on the comments. Curvy cooking shake and bake. Hell yeah. Let's see. So apparently the nearby share app for Windows only works if you have Bluetooth on your PC. Sucks for desktop users. Yeah, no kidding. That's a weird... Well, I mean, okay. Nearby share really is intended only for... Or, well, not intended only, but it is kind of a Bluetooth situated thing. Obviously, there's really no reason it can't be Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi discovery is messy as a protocol. It's really good if you want to use something for connection, and technically Wi-Fi Direct is okay for something like this, but a lot of devices don't really support Wi-Fi Direct, even still, and a lot of computers don't. So that I could kind of see good reason why they wouldn't bother supporting this for like Wi-Fi only. Bluetooth, on the other hand, discovery is almost kind of literally what Bluetooth... It actually is the only thing Bluetooth does well. Kind of literally the only thing Bluetooth can do well. I guess Bluetooth can also be lower power than Wi-Fi, but that's... You know, man, that's really asking not much. This light needs to be fudged a little bit to get the right look. Is it? Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. That's not too bad. Diablo ultra wideband and desktop PCs. I actually like that idea, and probably, honestly, I would not be surprised if that starts happening. But I don't think we're gonna see that happen until. Probably not until it becomes, like... I don't believe that that's in MacBook Pros yet. And I don't think we're going to see it anywhere else before they do it. And seeing as we're, you know... Yeah, let's just call it a hunch. I think that's where we're going to see it first. There might be a couple of oddball, you know, like one-of-a-kind PCs that do it, but sadly, they're probably not going to be well supported. Anyway, so, yeah. Let's see, skimming down, and it looks like, okay, caught up on all the rest. Cool. So, let's see, yeah, it could be neat. At least the Pixel tablet, getting it is kind of closer. Next form factors, please. So in general, I presume, I always think of tablets as being the same as phones. Though I guess that's not really a fair way to think of it, but yeah, it's just how I always kind of just look at them that way. Basically, I just think of them as larger phones, usually without a cellular radio. Or if they have one, it's only for data. But yeah, I guess nothing is really locked down these days. Let's see. So, wow, do I use the cringiest transition possible? Speaking of things not being locked down these days, let's talk about usernames on Twitter. I swear, I genuinely do not want to be starting on Twitter, but it's such an easy transition, and it's, God, anyone asking for spicy. Curvy asking if I washed the beanie. Yes, I've washed the beanie. Come on. Who do you think you're talking to? Just because I might wear the same shirt 2 days in a row doesn't mean that I don't clean things. And I stay pretty clean, though I have been known to smell a blogger once or twice in my life. You know, it's just sometimes how it goes. That's what happens when you work literally 100-hour weeks. Oh, wait. Carson, is this real? Honestly, is this real? And Diablo, oh boy, howdy, that's on the topic list too. I have thoughts. The Discord thing, it is very much on the topic list. Curvy, I wear the same beanie every stream though. Okay, does that mean it can't be washed? And actually, that's not entirely true. It is mostly true. I admit that. But if the room is cold enough, I also have this one. This is more winter cap beanie. There is 0 chance you'd be able to make it out, but it technically does actually have a print on this like quarter. Awesome. Beanie merch now, please. In all seriousness, and I kid you not, I 100%, like, if I ever do start doing merch, that is absolutely what I want to do. I will totally make beanies part of the thing. You know what's funny? I can tell there is print on this quarter, but it has faded enough over the years, I can't actually make out what it says. That's something. And it is technically a reversible beanie, but the inside is frankly ugly as hell. So, for big heads too, right? I don't know. Is that a crack on me, or? Let's see, Carson. Wait, what is? Picture in picture. Looks like Cody's face on Kobe. Nice. I can pull off the dunks. Kirby, some beanies don't fit your head. So to be fair, now I'm not saying that I'm ever gonna do this beanie as a actual merch item, though that would be kind of, that in a weird way it would be kind of ideal. But this beanie is one of those that's like oh, what do they call it? It's like a loose fit, relaxed fit kind of thing. So it literally comes all the way back down to my neck. It is loose even back here. Not that you can really see it super well with this lighting, but I guarantee this will fit any head. You could throw this on Dwayne Johnson. You could throw this on Batista, and it'll fit his head. Look, actually, you know what? We will go the full the full distance here, this will fit Paul Thurrott's giant ego. This beanie is big enough to fit that dude's ego. Anyone who doesn't know who he is, don't bother looking him up. It's just so not worth it. Anyway. Austin, if MKBHD can have shoes, you can have the beanies. Okay, I do not mean this to be... I don't want... okay, how do I say this where it's not... Because I don't mean it in any mean way, but at the same time, I don't know that it's not going to sound that way. I've heard... I have not actually... I can genuinely say I have not looked at MKBHD's shoes. I saw that it was a thing. I didn't look at all at the thing. I just, like, ingested into my brain that he put his name on some shoes. But I've heard, like, every comment I've seen is people calling them either really basic and boring or actual ugly. Which, why? I feel like if there's anyone out there who would not put their name on a bad shoe design, it would be him. But he does like simple, like minimalist design aesthetics, so I don't know, maybe that would be his style. I'm not sure. Yeah, Austin said it exactly. Yeah, he likes a super basic style, and not in a bad way, like, you know, the basic bitch way, but in the, you know, sort of minimalist, not overly detailed style. Yeah, of course, Carson had to throw it up there for the look. Okay, let's pop this on. Here's the judgment. Okay, it's definitely not my look. Yeah, this is... They don't look... Yeah, well... Okay, they have a certain aesthetic to them. I'll give it that. They have an aesthetic. It is not an aesthetic I would choose, especially with those really prominent tongues having a signature label, like, right there. That does not... Are these meant to be collectibles? That can't be what's supposed to show, right? That's got to be a joke. No, it's serious? Oh my god, in the lifestyle photos, they have labels out. Yo, dude, that's... Okay. No, this just dropped to the bottom of my list. You can't do labels out on shoe tongues, man. That's a no for me. Okay. Yeah, that's a hard no. The 251s, whatever. Okay, you know. I don't mind that printing. The dot pattern on the back. Actually, I kind of like the dot pattern on the back. This, trying to not mouse over everything here. I like the dot pattern. That works. The color choice is good. Well, I'm not in love with the orangey red, but it's not bad either. I'm good with the white sole, but I feel like that is a thick sole. That is a lot of sole. That little NYC tag kills some of your symmetry. That I think kind of not great, but not the worst. But that label, no, that label on the tongue that is the height of wrong. Sorry Marquez. I'm not trying to hate, but this I do not feel like this is great. This feels like something you do for a collectible shoe, not for a wearable shoe. Diablo. I like that he told people buy it to wear, not for showcase resale, but people for sure won't listen. Yeah, no, these are people are not gonna. Oh God, Austin with the dirty New Balance. Oh, ugly. God, are those like AI generated New Balance? Because they do not look like the right shape for a shoe. Also, love that that's a. I love for this image that is the low resolution that my channel art gets. One of these days I will actually retake a photo. That photo is so old. That is from when I was living in... wait, was I still living in Vegas? It was either when I was living in Vegas or very shortly after I moved away. And it's actually a Halloween costume. Though I argue, pinstripe suit, never gonna die. Let's see. Carson, red looks more orange in the stream than on the website on your phone. Interesting. Red looks more orange, and so honestly, I can think of like a dozen reasons for that. Everything from the fact that I'm viewing this on my MacBook using Chrome, so there's some weird color management things that are naturally going to happen anyway. And there's also, like, I don't know what OBS is doing with color management. I've wanted to actually... I don't have time to mess with this, but I've wanted to dig around at OBS's color management for a long time. There's a possibility of a few other things going on. And obviously, like, YouTube does its own stuff with the stream. Which, on a side note, not that anybody really cares, but Curvy, you use slobs, so you don't care. But there was just a new update for OBS, and it apparently introduces the native support for streaming HEVC and H.265 to YouTube. So I might switch to that. I haven't decided yet, but it would make a lot of sense for me to actually spin up, or when I shift over to streaming from my newer laptop, the M1 MacBook Pro, when I make that switch, like, that would actually be a good step up. Anyway, let's see. Carson, do I still have the suit? To my knowledge, no, I don't. And it's not overly visible or obvious in this photo, but I was swimming in that thing. It was way too big for me. And it was cheap. Like, it was garbage quality, like Halloween costume cheap. It was not a real pinstripe suit, sadly. It would be kind of awesome if it was. Let's see. Awesome. Hope it's not coral. I hate when you order something red and it comes out coral. You know, looking at these shoes, I don't think it would be coral. And God, I can't say that without immediately thinking of all the Rick Grimes memes. Coral. I'm watching Walking Dead right now, and still it pains me every time I say it or hear his name. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. That's actually a valid question. This has just enough of an orangey look to it that I really have my doubts that it would look red. I'm not sure it would come all the way down to coral, but yeah, I feel like there's some distinct orange here. Man, a lot of talk about YouTuber merch. But man, and that kind of almost, now I feel like I shouldn't have or I should transition to a different thing first. But let's see. Carson shared, because we're already here. Carson shared this. So apparently, according to this, Twitter has changed the verified account text again. I mean, come on, man. What the? So, do we have any verified showing up? Okay, here's one. Jamie, you are... Yeah. No, that's what it is. That is cringe. This account is verified. Why, dude? Why? Like, you're doing Twitter so bad. Diablo, so glad you rid of Twitter. Feel better not trying to look as much unless someone gives me a link. Yeah, no, seriously, I do not look at Twitter basically at all anymore unless I'm specifically linked to something. I'm just not opening it up. I've got no compulsive desire to open it up. In the rare instances that I do, I still look over at the What's Happening tab, which, I mean, seriously, look right there. Tell me you haven't seen that topic a few too many times over the last, say, 3 years. And for that matter, that one at the top, I feel like we've seen that a few too many times too, but usually followed by the word sports. Anyway, man, just I can't even with this site. But on that topic, oh boy, I think we have to call this out, because what the absolute epic level of crap is this? Elon Musk is apparently, they're saying threaten. I'm thinking trying to be an opportunist, and he's trying to, I'm thinking sell NPR, just the account. I bet that is his new business model. He's saying that he's threatening to reassign them to, quote, another company, and, you know, we'll see what that really means. But I think what this actually is, I'm gonna go out on a limb here because no one else seems to be saying this, but well, I haven't seen anyone else saying this. I don't know if this is maybe a going theory. So what everyone is saying is that this is a petty move where Elon Musk is apparently talking about taking away NPR's main account and just quote unquote giving it away to some other company. My thought is, I don't think that this is about giving it away. I think what he wants to do is quietly sell accounts, because NPR has a lot of followers. Let's see if I open this up. Yeah, 8.8 million followers on the NPR account. And you know it's been around for a while. It's got some legacy. People have linked to it a lot. Tell me someone wouldn't pay for this. Especially because of who follows it. A lot of credible people follow that account. If someone were to buy it, that would be worth something. So yeah, I can't help but think that this is a play to basically take high value accounts and resell them, kind of like you would domain names. And seeing as he runs Twitter, that makes sense. You know, he needs the money. He's he has an incentive to do this, and they've got the excuse. Basically, accounts that aren't logged into for a period of time, they over the years, Twitter has threatened to basically take them away. And I kind of understand that. I don't agree with it. I think it's a crappy policy, but I understand it. The fact that they, to my knowledge, I don't think they've ever really like reassigned accounts under previous leadership. I know there was some rumors that it had happened a few times, but I don't know if that's ever actually been true. But the fact that he's floating this idea now with the NPR account says a lot. For those who don't know, and I've got it up on screen right now, after Elon Musk added the like state-funded media tags to NPR like about a month or so ago, those tags were up for like a week or two, then taken down. Anyway, NPR basically said, screw this joint, we're out. And they stopped tweeting. Well, the policies basically say that an inactive account can basically be revoked, and the name could theoretically be given back out. Generally, like I said, generally speaking, this hasn't been happening. Elon Musk has apparently been emailing saying, hey, maybe I'll give this account to somebody else. My theory, he needs the money. He's treating this like garage, or like, well, I wanted to say like a garage sale, but more like an estate sale. Basically, buy up, he's bought Twitter. Now he's got all these accounts that have been semi or completely abandoned. And it is honestly kind of in his best interest to just resell them. And I mean, look, this is why I've been keeping my account logged in. I'm not tweeting on it. I'm not posting anything at all on there, but there's a reason I've been keeping it logged in, and this is part of that. And I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I think that might be the reason why the two-factor authentication incident happened a few days back too. For those that may not have heard that one. And this was all over the place, but basically anyone logged in on the web, your account got automatically logged out. And chances are your two-factor authentication codes just wouldn't work. So the only way to get logged back in for a lot of people was to use the one-time password that was assigned along with your two-factor authentication codes. So hopefully you wrote that down. Otherwise, you've got to go through like account recovery steps. Which isn't the hardest thing to do, but, tedious. But yeah, I'm kind of wondering if this is sort of let's see if we can't nudge a few people off of here so we can get their accounts back. Because that has classically been one of the things. And I bet anything there are a bunch of slimy people who are out there just ready to buy up high-value accounts. But we shall see. Because I feel like this is also the sort of thing that is going to drive a lot of people away. It is going to make a ton of people really, really unhappy. And it is just ultimately going to lower Twitter's user numbers even more. So, we'll see. That being said, the funny thing that it was like an addendum to this story, and a lot of people may have missed this. The person who covered this, or highlighted a lot of it, this guy, Bobby Allen, he noted that at least the source of this said, in an email sent at 2:19 a.m. Eastern Time, after the story was originally published, Musk wrote a message without any text in the body, but with the subject line, "You suck." So I'm thinking maybe he didn't want people to know. He didn't want people to know this was happening. Yeah. Honestly, I'm thinking that this is... That's part of why... that's part of why I think that this is him pulling some sly business. Some sneakiness. Diablo, basically promoting spam sales. How great. Yeah, that's kind of exactly it. I think... Elon doesn't want bots on Twitter because bots don't make him money. But man, selling off big accounts would. Elon confirmed without actually confirming. Kind of, yeah. And I mean, mine is just a theory. There could be any number of other reasons or logic behind this, but selling big name accounts, tell me that doesn't kind of sound on brand for him. You know, if he auctions off a bunch of accounts, like, that is 100% kind of just the thing he would do. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. I feel like there was some other story Twitter related, but I don't remember what it was. So, at least for the moment, that's all I'm going to hit for today on the Twitter. The new Twitter files is what we'll call it. The new Twitter files. But speaking of usernames and some fuckery, Discord is doing a thing. We are all part of Discord. We enjoy and use Discord frequently. And for those who may be catching the stream right now, hey, thank you for being here. If you're new and have not joined the Discord, there is one. Go check down in the description for a link. I'm pretty sure I replaced the link address. Damn, now I'm not... yeah, I did. I'm like 80% certain I replaced the link. Oh, wait. Oh, you know what? It might only be fixed in the account description, not in the stream text. Well, if you'd like to join the Discord and you're not already in there, go check in the About page or try to catch one of the live streams and, you know, ping us, anyone here, and let us know if you'd like to join. And we'll make sure a usable current link is made available. And before anybody tells me that you can make Discord invite links that are permanent, I know. That's what I've done a few times, and weirdly, those permanent links do expire. They absolutely expire. It's annoying. So, yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, so Discord is going to be changing how usernames work. It's funny because they wrote a long post about this. Like, this is sizable for what turns out to be a very simple change. But anyway, Diablo saying, well, I'll come back to Diablo's comments. They'll fit better in a moment. But to quickly explain what's happening, for anyone who doesn't care to read this, Discord has a long history of their somewhat unique system. It's not super unique, but it's kind of unique. Did they have a better picture of it? I guess not. Okay. So if you look at this one on the left, the things that make it kind of unique is Discord's usernames are made up of two parts. The first part is a case-sensitive name that supports a few too many characters. Or at least they believe it supports a few too many characters. And actually, I kind of agree too. But the biggest problem with this is it is in fact case sensitive. There kind of wasn't a good reason for that. That is universally seen as bad form on the internet. If you make anything case sensitive, you're probably, like, besides passwords, if you make anything case sensitive, you're probably doing something wrong. Because people do not like hitting it. Well, people just don't like using the shift key or caps lock more than they have to for any sort of usernames. Or email addresses, web addresses, pretty much anything else. Nevertheless, that is the first part. The second part is a unique number, a 4-digit number that, for whatever reason, they decided to name the Discriminator. I wish I was kidding, because wow, did they get that name wrong. Could have literally just been number, unique number, identifier, anything else other than Discriminator. But okay. I feel like they revealed way too much in this blog. This blog post just was not a good choice. But yes, that 4-digit suffix was called the Discriminator. Anyway, so according to their blog post, basically, this introduced, both of these things introduced a lot of problems. The first part, again, as I mentioned, the case-sensitive text. What the hell were they thinking? That was dumb. Because if you tell somebody, let's say in my case, find me at Cody Toombs, number, in my case, it is 0001. For starters, a lot of people just simply didn't know their Discriminator. They don't know what their actual number is, which is made worse by the fact that if you look at your user account, or like your main account, that actually has a different Discriminator than the server profile. Your server profile will have a different number on it. Why this is, I don't know. But it's really dumb. I checked mine. So my main account is the 0001, but my secondary account I think was like 2705 or something. I don't remember it. It was some other number. Which makes me wonder how many people have tried using my name. Anyway. So a lot of people, again, don't remember that number. And then the thing is, I also have capital letters in my name. I decided to... Carson, yours isn't like that? I'm really makes me wonder why mine is. But okay, anyway. Yeah, so regardless, the first part of my username, the actual username, has capital letters in it. Now, if I told someone to just search for that name, they're gonna go searching and find, maybe, I don't know, they might find somebody who's got all lowercase. And that's kind of the problem, or a problem. Nevertheless, they're going to be changing this. Oh, by the way, of note, as many people know, you can also set a display name per server. Because of course you can. That's actually a good feature. It's a great feature because, look, if you play an online game with people, they know you by whatever your online game avatar name is. If you also join a server of friends from high school or wherever, you don't want to go by the same name. You don't want to go by the name that you use on some random game. You want to go by your real name or something close enough to it. Or if you're like one particular server that I'm on, everyone is changing their name to something kind of ridiculous on a regular basis. It's just the thing people do. For reference, just because I will be posting one of those to the RambleCast chat room right now. There's a reason for this joke. Anyway, so Discord's gonna be changing their naming to something that is very, very traditional and obvious. So their primary username is going to look exactly like, let's say, a Twitter username. It's going to be @ and just some lowercase alphanumeric name, which they also highlight. It can also include periods and underscores. Why it doesn't include dashes, I don't know. I'm sorry, but include the dashes, guys. But whatever. And so, yeah, that's just going to be part of the username. And then you will also have display names. Like, I guess you will have a global display name, and then you can still have server level display names. So the server level name overrules the global name. Basically, if you're used to using Discord now, this is almost exactly what exists now. They're just really getting rid of that 4-digit number, and they're switching all the names to lowercase. That's really the only change that's actually happening. But they took this many words to say that. That is a lot of words. I'm really just emphasizing how much how much I'm not happy I read through this whole thing, thinking that there was going to be more to it. That's what I'm saying here. I'm regretting the decision to read this whole thing. That being said, the important part is they're going to be rolling this out over the next few months. Well, at least several weeks, but probably months, I think, is what it's going to end up taking. And the reason that they're doing this is they're going to be going chronologically through the accounts and opening it up to batches of people so that they can claim their username based on when they join. So if you joined early, Diablo presumably is going to be, you said your account was from 2018. Discord started in 2015. I have a feeling you're going to be pretty early to the game. I don't know when I started on Discord. Actually, can I figure that out? Not that it matters that much, but I guess I am kind of curious. I bet verify email address was in... Oh, wow. I joined Discord in 2018 on January 24th. Honestly, I thought it was going to be like late 2019. Had no idea. So anyway, yeah, Diablo said this, and I will echo the same point. We're hoping that no one gets our usernames before we get them. Because I don't want to have a random, weird, different name on a service that I've been using this name on for ages. Carson showing us up with the 2017. You bastard. Don't you dare steal my name. Kidding. Let's see. So, yeah. Let's see. Diablo, they want you to pay for boost for real customized permanently. I hope that's a joke. I wouldn't doubt it, but I hope that's a joke. Anyway, let's see. Sorry, I'm reading through really quick. The only problem is for creators and companies if their name is taken. Yeah. Well, that can be a bad problem. I'm not overly worried about companies. I think most companies, first off, will be able to work with Discord and basically say, look, there's someone who's an imposter, and they took the name that belongs to us. So I think companies will be fine. Creators, I think that's going to depend on how big you are. Like, how big is your server? And how many people are boosting and things like that. David Llama coming in with December 2016. What the? Damn it. Guys. I knew I was late to the game on Discord, but I didn't think, well, I was surprised for myself that it was 2018. Early 2018 even, but Carson, you've got Nitro Trial active, maybe you'll get it first. Not gonna lie, I'm really tempted to go activate a trial in hopes that it might give me a little bit of a leg up. Carson, they should roll out the username picker from older to newer accounts. That is what they're doing. It is chronological, so the older your account is, supposedly the better. Let's see. Oh, it's not a joke. Nitro Boost, huh? Okay. Diablo, at least you're not in the 2020s. Yeah, no, for real. Because a lot of people supposedly joined Discord in 2020. Like, apparently that was like off the charts growth for them. Anyway, so yeah, this will be interesting. I have a feeling that, like I said, I think creators are going to be able to work with Discord and get the names that they want. Big enough names. I think a lot of other people are going to be sitting there getting really irritated with people who created accounts like various alts years and years ago. Watch as they are going to be sitting there like, hey, I've got my main account, but I got all these other alts that I can just kind of do whatever I want with. They're going to have early name picks, and I bet a lot of them are going to be using those to grab up names that they want to own. Or people are going to be selling old alts. God, even as I say that, I'm immediately just cringing at how ugly that's going to get. There's going to be so many people who are like grabbing up names of like reasonably well-known but not like huge YouTubers, and I think that's going to get vicious. And there are going to be a bunch of scams that come as a result of this. Damn it, Discord, you made a mistake. You introduced a really good black market for scams. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is actually going to be horrible, because I think a lot of people kind of know how to handle this, but we'll see. On the plus side, I think it is worth noting there is a bit of a plus side. This will at least finally make Discord names easier to track down. And apparently, one thing they did mention also, there's going to be basically a redirect mechanism. So all of the old names with their IDs, yeah, so right here. In addition, your previous usernames and discriminator will continue to work as an alias after the conversion process is done. So old friends who don't know you or don't know your new username yet will continue to be able to add you. So if you published your name with discriminator somewhere, then people will still be able to search for that and find you. So that's great. And for the developers out there, while numerical user IDs will remain the same, learn more about some other changes that may impact your apps here. So watch as a whole bunch of bots start breaking. If you already use a server nickname in a particular community, that server nickname will still take priority over your display name in that server. Yeah, okay, that part I already mentioned. Carson, this is going to be like the Stadia founder usernames all over again. I think this will be a lot worse, because the Stadia founder username thing was that just led to some people trying to snag some names that they wanted and kind of being trolls about it. But it didn't really matter a lot. Like, there weren't any, to my knowledge, there weren't really ways to run scams. Or not, like, real scams. I feel it's a different story with Discord. I think we're going to see some actual Like, okay, just for example, this isn't the best example, but one of the Discord servers I'm on is for a YouTuber. He goes by his channel the channel goes by the name of Gerald Undone. This is a camera YouTuber. Most of you will probably never care in the least about what this guy does, but this is one of the more serious camera YouTubers. He does more kind of like testing on stuff and he gets more analytical than most, which is, to put it lightly, it's kind of like what I was to AP. Me with like technical articles, teardowns, stuff like that. That's kind of what he is to the camera world. Where a lot of people are more just, here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do, like, a lot of people, their channels are like photo shoots, or they talk about the cameras, but they don't really get into depth. This guy's the guy that gets into depth. Anyway, I'd say at least once every month, I'll get a friend request from some random garbage Discord account that uses his same channel art. It is pretending to be him, but it obviously has a different number if you're looking at the username. The account, again, was obviously created, like it shows the account creation date. It was obviously created within like the last month or two. And it's always someone trying to run a scam. I would be shocked if Gerald Undone does not have to basically argue with Discord to have somebody, or someone's going to try stealing the name, and I think he's going to have to basically say, look, this is obviously going to be someone who's trying to scam everyone on my server. So can you not allow this? Can you do something about it? Can you just give me the name? I have a feeling a lot of YouTubers are going to have this fight, especially since a lot of YouTubers aren't that active on Discord, even though they have a Discord. I'm on another server where the YouTuber in question, Matty Apoya, I won't try specifying too much about him, but he's a pretty popular YouTuber. I think he's over 1 million subs. Actually, I'm sure he's over 1 million. Matty is extremely inactive on Discord, at least as far as I know. His server is basically a graveyard, but very popular YouTuber. A lot of people know him. A lot of people like him. I bet anything he is not going to be there to claim his name as soon as that time comes. A lot of people are probably going to be looking for an opportunity to pretend to be him. Just a theory, but I don't think I'm wrong about this. And all they have to do is hop onto the Discord channels for a bunch of other photography people using Matty Apoya's name. And a lot of people are not going to think about it. They're just going to trust that it looks real, especially because whatever account does nab this name, it'll be one of the older accounts. So no one will have any reason to doubt it, because Discord has not yet introduced a form of verification. Anyone want to bet on when that's going to happen? Because I bet Discord is going to be on their way to eventually verifying accounts. Is that not kind of how this stuff usually goes? Man, the world really is good at burning. So speaking of accounts, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, sure. We'll transition into this one because this is kind of everyone's talking about it today. Awesome. Maybe they should use blue check marks. I would, you know what? I know what you're getting at. I know the joke you're aiming to make here. But just honestly, I feel like purple's kind of their brand. But purple check marks, absolutely. Anyway, so speaking of accounts and everything else, Google, everyone's talking about it. The infamous passwordless future. They've been talking it up for years. Google has started rolling out passkey support. Now, first off, they say that they've started rolling out passkeys. And they even, in their blog post, well, one of their 2 blog posts, they even start with the words, "for the first time." That's kind of a weird way to say it, but it's half true. They've been rolling out support in various forms for passkeys for actually like months now. But being able to sign into your Google account with a passkey, that is new as of today. So here's the basics. When you set it up, by the way, I have not set this up personally. I'm not going to. I will get into why in a moment. But as you set this up, what you're basically doing is you're setting up a private key on your device, and you give the public key to Google. The public key is used basically to authenticate anything that you sign. And we'll get into how this works in a second. The neat part about this is basically it is a lot like a password, or actually it's more like a second factor authentication code. And it is harder to spoof. It's harder to break. It's more secure in many ways. And ideally, it should be more secure. And in some ways, it absolutely is. Unfortunately, in a few ways, it's not. We'll get to that momentarily. Or rather, it depends a lot on how it's implemented. So, the way that this works, here's the technical details for people who are a little bit more open to the nerdy side of things. If you are familiar at all with public key and private key encryption, what this is you basically maintain a key on your device, or in a password manager, or somewhere. This is your private key. Nobody else has it, or at least no one should have it. And it is a big, usually, I want to say it's usually a 256 bit. Wait, no. Should be longer than that. I don't know. Anyway, it is a very long string of letters and numbers, and sometimes symbols. I think almost always symbols. And it's sort of like SSH for the masses. That's actually not a bad way to put it. Yeah, it is a lot like your SSH keys. Which I'm pretty sure this is using the exact same algorithm too. And if you really want to go back to it, this is basically PGP. The PGP algorithm, which stood for Pretty Good Privacy, was built on the idea of a public-private key encryption mechanism. So the person who holds the private key is the only person who has this key, hopefully. And it is supposed to be not perfectly uncrackable, but very close to it. You can use this key to encrypt some piece of text, or really more create a hash of a piece of text, and other people, in theory, anybody, can have a copy of your public key. This public key can be used to authenticate that that piece of text was signed by your private key, or rather encrypted by your private key. But it cannot be used in reverse, so you can't use the public key to encrypt anything, and you can't use the public key to figure out what the private key is. All you can do is figure out, using the public key, that the person with the private key did something. So it is basically a one-way trip. This is super useful for a purpose like this. And it is actually a really good idea. It's a good use of this. So you basically keep the private key on your device, and you can use it for sign-in. At least that's the practical idea. The way it works here is if you're signing into a Google account, basically what you'll do is take your phone or computer, if that's where it's stored, and either scan a QR code or go through some other step on the computer, and it will effectively open up it'll open up some sort of a test for you. Either you type in a PIN or use your fingerprint, or it scans your retina, or whatever security method you're going to use. And this will unlock the key, use it to encrypt a piece of text, a quote-unquote challenge that Google has sent to you, and you send the resulting encrypted challenge back to Google. It uses the public key that it has on record for you, tests that that is in fact the thing, and if everything passes, it signs you in. Now, right now, they're using this as basically a replacement for 2FA codes. So basically, instead of opening up Authy or Google Authenticator, which I argue just recently they made a lot less secure, instead of opening that up, what you're going to want to do is take your phone, scan a QR code, you'll press your thumb to the fingerprint scanner, or you'll use the Face ID or whatever, and then it will just handle the communications and sign you in. But the key thing here is you still have to use your password currently to start this process. What they're promising someday is to get rid of the password requirement altogether. So you will presumably just use your passkeys. If we're talking about a Google account, I think this is kind of okay. I don't love it, but I think it's mostly okay. There are a few problems with this because your passkey is getting synced across all of your devices. You can prevent this, I believe, but it seems like it's sort of an automatic thing. Which, if you have any devices that are being shared by a few people, that's not great. Diablo, is it weird to think that the actual account saves its own password? Just hopefully no one loses access, I guess. Yes, that is in fact a very big concern, I think. But if you're one of those people who has like a dozen devices lying around, probably not a big deal. If you're one of those people who literally just has their smartphone and nothing else, well, good luck. You're never getting back into your account if your phone gets stolen. That's kind of where this could go. So yeah, I wouldn't trust it if that's the case. And if you are one of those people who does not have multiple devices lying around as backups, and you have no other good ways into your account, do not use passkeys right now. Because it's not that I think anything bad will happen right now, because you should, even if you switch to passkeys now or enable passkeys now, in theory, you should still be able to use the password, second factor authentication. Carson, you mean that's all, or you say that's already a concern with 2FA. In a second, I can say why it's not. But, exactly, Carson. That's the thing. You already have backup codes printed out. And with 2FA, technically, you can actually just store the secret or even the QR code with the secret. You can print those or store those anywhere. At any time, you can actually just get everything back to functioning. And of course, you have a password manager. Pretty much everyone at this point uses a password manager. So you can always get back into your Google account using things that are not necessarily linked or tied to your Google account. If you switch to passkeys, technically you can deauthorize devices. If someone steals your phone or something, they can deauthorize a device pretty easily. The thing is, obviously having too many recovery methods can get you in trouble. It makes it technically easier for somebody to have access to the 2 or 3 things that they might need in order to steal an account. but also cutting down to just the passkey, which is... Google even admits this is basically their goal. They want to get it down to the point where people just have to use a passkey to get in, and it sounds like they kind of don't want any other methods, or ideally would like to sort of push out other methods. Let's see. Yeah, so in this section, they say creating a passkey on your Google account makes it an option for sign-in. Existing methods, including your password, will still work in case you need them. For example, when using devices that don't support passkeys yet. Passkeys are still new, and it will take some time before they work everywhere. However, creating a passkey today still comes with security benefits, as it allows us to pay closer attention to the sign-ins that fall back to passwords. Key point: over time, we'll increasingly scrutinize these as passkeys gain broader support and familiarity. Over time, they're literally saying, over time, we're going to trust everything else less. Passkeys will become their preferred login method. Once that happens, those other methods might just stop working as often or at all. Or they might require like a third test or something like that. I'm just literally calling it as they wrote it. With a few assertions. So yeah, I think right now passkeys are not super thoroughly tested, though. Again, they're using basically PGP. I don't know if the algorithm is exactly the same, but they're using what is essentially PGP. So it's a pretty well time-tested strategy. And it works. Or rather, there's no real reason to think it won't work. But there may be bugs in the system. We'll have to wait and see. There may be problems with this. And again, for people who don't have a lot of devices where the passkeys will be synced, that could be a problem. Likewise, for people who have a lot of devices where they're going to be synced, but multiple people might have access to them, there can also be a problem. And what I've kind of tried looking into this, but not super closely. I haven't seen explanations yet for things like, can you take your passkey somewhere else? I believe you can just replace your passkey. So you might not be able to take the one that you create with Google and like extract it to your own password manager. But I think you could, I'm pretty sure you will at least be able to replace the one that Google uses with one that you generate yourself. I'm not exactly sure how that process is going to work. But that's something that I know I would like to be able to do because I want to keep that passkey elsewhere. I'd like to store it in something that is encrypted separately and synced not through Google's servers. Diablo, yes. 1Password said that they're going to roll out support. How exactly it works, we'll see. I believe Bitwarden has also announced plans to support it, though I don't think they gave so much as a specific date. And by the most ridiculous of coincidences, I was listening to the Android Developers Podcast, or, well, Android Developers Backstage, sorry, that's the actual name of it. And it's named that way so it can be ADB. Anyway, Android Developers Backstage podcast from like 5 years ago or something. Actually, what was the date on this? I was listening to this like last night. It was just the craziest of timing. Yeah, March of 2018. For real. Possibly February. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, it would have been episode 88 of the show. And it just so happened that they were talking about password managers and the autofill feature that was added. One of the things they talked about in the episode, though, is that there are only so many password managers out there. It's a relatively small number, and because of that, the Google framework team can basically just reach out to each of those developers individually, communicate with them, and work with them to make sure that certain functions are supported a certain way. I have a feeling they've probably done the same thing with passkeys. I would not be surprised if they basically told all of them, hey, here's a thing that we are going to support. We encourage you to support this too. And so I would expect every developer of a password manager has at least been approached, and anyone who's actively supporting this is probably going to be, or actively supporting their password managers. I think you're going to see support is going to roll out somewhere in the next few months. Diablo, can't wait to see what they talk about during I/O. Yeah, I'm, like I said in Discord, they're definitely going to talk about this. I forget where I saw it. I think it was on a message on Mastodon. A Google developer came right out and said that they're going to talk about this more at I/O. Or was it maybe? No. Okay, it had to be a Mastodon post. I'm pretty sure of it. Ugh, come on. No. Mute. I knew I said the word Google too many times. Let's see. Anyway. So, Carson, you're taking off. Take it easy, man. Good having you here. Let's see. Diablo. Scary thing, though, is then if one password goes passwordless, where would that person store? So I think we're never really going to be truly passwordless. Well, obviously never is a stretch. Someday we'll probably achieve passwordlessness, but in all likelihood, what's going to end up happening is you're just going to get down to having the true master password, which is something we already kind of have. You basically, if you're using a password manager, chances are you only really need to have the password to your password manager. In theory, well, in all likelihood, you should be using a second factor authentication in a lot of services, and you might have a password protecting those. You should have a password protecting those. And if you're good, you have two. One for the password manager, and then one separate, different password for your 2FA codes. It's up to you if you do that. Anyway, so with that said, obviously your password manager just stores something, and both iOS and Android and pretty much all the web browsers support autofill of some kind. And that, I think, makes it easy enough. For the most part, most people shouldn't really have to remember any passwords beyond those. There may be a few other exceptions, I guess, like PIN numbers for bank accounts or credit cards, things like that. You might still have to remember those, but you may also store those in your password managers. Anyway, so accessing whatever it's going to be, you might use a fingerprint or something like that, but you can also just kind of use passwords for that one single password for a lot of things. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. We'll see if we ever get much more integrated than that. I think it'll happen someday, but not until we get to the point where biometrics are very, very hard to fake and can also somehow be done with no pain points. Literally, it shouldn't, people have talked about biometric scanners that can scan DNA and stuff like that. Obviously we don't want to get to the ridiculous point of having to draw blood in order to get into your password managers. But, you know, something short of that, maybe. Austin, wait, are we not embedding second factor authentication NFC chips in our fingers? I don't know where you've been, dude. I got all 5 wired up right now. And you should see what this one accesses. Anyway, but to be fair, I as much as it feels cringy, I do think we are headed towards a day where we're going to have embeddables, and when we do, I would be shocked if at least one of the common embeds isn't just basically a full ID and like passkey or like access code kind of thing. I'm very fully convinced one of those is coming, and when it does, oh boy, gonna be a weird world to exist. So, as I previously said, I don't know that I would really want to entrust passkeys to Google's accounts and services, because I'd be a little too afraid of what happens if they get swiped. Because Google accounts will become a very prime target if you're keeping all of your login information in a Google account, which is effectively what passkeys will be. I would much rather keep something like that stored separately. As I previously mentioned, I would also be really worried about Google banning your account. Because if one of the things that is very notable about passkeys, you can technically use the same passkey with multiple services. Because it is like I mentioned before, it is a private key that only you have a copy of, and you can technically give the public key to anyone, as long as they know that public key is attached to you and you're the only one who can sign it. You could literally give the public key out, just literally publicly. You can stick it on the bottom of every email as a way of saying, hey, here, if you ever want to prove that I am who I say I am, here's a public key and you can check with it. That's how this works. So you can technically use the same private key to log into 1,000 different websites that implement passkey, and it's okay. This is an option. Well, what happens if Google ever bans your account and you lose access because of being banned to your private key? Because let's be honest, if you've ever heard anyone who's got a phone where their Google account was banned, weird stuff happens. Really weird things happen if your account gets banned and that's the only account logged into a phone. All of a sudden, various apps just kind of stop working. Things behave really weird. Things break down real quick. If for some reason you can't get into your passkey because of this, bad times. Real bad times. All of a sudden you lose everything. So yeah, I'm just saying, I don't want to entrust everything to Google's accounts. It's not that I think that they're going to go ban crazy, but accidents happen. Little things tend to cause big problems. So yeah, that's why I'm not immediately jumping on this. Again, I think using a Google passkey just with a Google account, probably not a big deal. And seeing as right now everything falls back anyway, very likely not going to be a problem. But in the future, I would not be using the same passkey for anywhere else. And I would generally want to regenerate and use my own passkey with Google servers rather than rely on one that they would be storing in the account. I'm trying to find the right way to say this and carefully word it, but yeah, anyway. So, yeah, Diablo fine for now. And so yeah. Anyway, moving on, because I've already kind of harped on this in the past. Let's see. We may as well talk about the other big Google related thing. Because there's no way not to talk about this one. And I did promise this one was definitely in the topic list. Diablo, does trusted token sessions still can be taken? I assume you're talking about the one where if you try signing into accounts, it pops up a message on a different device saying, do you want to authorize this? Like, this was a method you could use instead of the two-factor authentication. Is that what you're talking about? Or something else? Or is this like the one where you could generate the one-time password for logging in a device that can't take a two-factor authentication code? Yep, that's part of it too. Okay. As far as I know, that pop-up doesn't happen much anymore. I'm not entirely sure, but I've heard that it only appears in very limited scenarios, and I don't really know why. My theory is, and I don't know if this is really a good explanation, but my theory is I think that it was a security issue where there were a lot of people who, if they could get access to your phone for just a few minutes when you're not looking, what people could do is, if they could get to just name and password, they couldn't necessarily get to your second factor authentication codes, but they could get to name and password for any reason at all. Then what they could do is sign in another device, and while they had your phone, they would get pinged basically to authenticate a device, and they could just hit yes. I think that's what was happening. I'm not really sure on that. I've never checked it out, but I've heard people say that this was a security concern. Anyway, whether or not that's true, I don't know. Or how big of a problem it was, rather. Anyway, so but I think the feature still exists. I think it's just not as common. Like, it might be a thing that happens when, I don't know, maybe you're signing in devices like a Google TV device, like a Chromecast or something like that, because no real security stuff ends up on there anyway, so who cares if people get access to that? So it makes it a lot, nobody wants to type in a two-factor authentication code on a screen. It's already annoying enough to type in anything else on there. But anyway, so let's see. The other big Google security topic, Google and Apple have teamed up. Agreed to team up, actually, is a better way to say this. They've agreed to team up over Bluetooth trackers. Trackers. I guess I shouldn't say Bluetooth. So the problem with Bluetooth wow, I just said it again. The problem with location trackers, as we've all heard, we remember the stories, AirTags. They were being used pretty much almost from the day Apple released them. They started being used for all kinds of really bad things. They were used for stalking people. They were used for keeping track of people. They were used for theft rings. They were used for home invasion planning. They've been used for so many things that are so incredibly illegal. Now, location trackers in and of themselves aren't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, they're kind of a good thing. But, yeah, they've been used maliciously, literally from the start. There were so many stories coming out, and there was talk about legislation. There was, which kind of only barely went through. There have been a lot of people rightfully concerned about this, and weirdly, Apple hasn't really been one of them. For whatever reason, Apple has been very, very casual with with trying to do anything about AirTags being used for any illegal purposes. The only thing that they've... Well, okay, so after they launched AirTags, it took... I don't remember exact dates, and I'm too lazy to look it up. Or rather, too unprepared to look it up. But it took them a few months before they realized how many bad ways AirTags could be used, and they started imposing some restrictions on them and some slightly different behaviors. Some of those different behaviors, or the key differences, they made it so that AirTags that left the vicinity of their owner's iPhone for too long and were not in... I believe they weren't in the locations where they were expected to be in, they would start making some kind of an alarm or a beep or something like that. As many people have very, very instantly pointed out, that's not a very effective strategy, because all you have to do is crack the thing open and disable the speaker. And a lot of people have also highlighted that AirTags can also be scanned for. Well, the problem with that one was Apple implemented basically a native scanning feature within iPhones. So if a weird AirTag that you're not familiar with seems to be following you around all the time, you would get alerted. And that's a helpful feature. That's nice. You can do something about this. Maybe not very effectively, but you can try to do something about this. The problem, and of course there's always a problem with things like this, the problem was a lot of people started pointing out, rightfully, that if you don't have an iPhone, you have no protection against this. Well, Apple decided to promise, and eventually did deliver on, an app that could be used for scanning for AirTags on an Android phone. This was terrible. This ended up being a garbage app, very low quality. It did not perform very well, and most importantly, you had to open it up and manually scan. You had to refresh every time you wanted to do a scan. It's not something you could leave running in the background. It's not something that could occasionally poll to see if there were suspicious AirTags in your vicinity. It was just something that existed, and you'd have to use it each and every time. Now, my understanding is that Apple did push a couple of updates to make this slightly less terrible, but for the most part, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but I think they didn't actually go through and test, or I think they abandoned the app. Sorry, is what I meant to say. Let's see. Pulling that up right now. Here is the Play Store entry. Updated. Oh, okay. It was updated on February 28th, 2022. Oh, never mind. What am I saying? Haha, that's over a year ago. So yeah, the app is abandoned, or effectively abandoned. Let's see. At least the screen looks marginally better than it used to. Yeah, there's not much to it though. This is a pretty scrawny, low function app. And judging by that score, not a lot of fans. In fact, I would argue that's a pretty bad score for anything coming out of Apple. Though, to be fair, Apple apps don't tend to get great scores. Anyway. So, yeah, this was garbage. This was not a good solution. Apple, I would argue... quite frankly, I would argue Apple released a product and then used it as a means to weaponize the product against Android users, which in turn kind of became yet another sort of, I'm trying to think of a polite way to say this, but it basically became kind of a gremlin style approach to getting people to use iPhones. It effectively was saying, do you want to make sure you don't get stalked by people using our product inappropriately? Well, you have to buy our other product to ensure that you're safe. Which, I mean, you know, this is not entirely unlike the iMessage situation. They basically kind of blue bubbled anti-stalker situations. I would love to honestly harp on this more, but I'll move on. Now, Google and Apple have teamed up, supposedly. Well, not supposedly, they have, but nothing particularly fruitful has come of it yet. But they have agreed that they're going to release a specification, a protocol of some kind that is going to be between their two main operating systems, Android and iOS, that will basically support watching for unwanted trackers. This is meant to be an industry-wide kind of thing, so regardless of what network it's using, in theory, they want all trackers to support the same basic rules. And this way they'll be able to watch for unwanted trackers. Those trackers, if they're using phones effectively as a mesh network, will be detectable and identifiable, and it should not, in theory, matter what network they're on. Your phone should be able to detect that you're being followed by a tracker. So that's the idea, and it's a good one. Now, the problem with this, I think, well, now I'll come back to the problem. So, for clarity, nothing exists yet, or if there is, it's more like a first draft. And apparently they have the blessing of several companies, including, I believe Samsung was on the, well, I don't remember. Anyway, most of the major companies making trackers are on the list of companies that are supporting this effort. We'll talk about the Finder Network in a moment, which I believe Carson linked to earlier. But the thing is, this is not a formal thing yet, and the goal that they have is that Google and Apple have is that they're going to submit an early draft of this, and then after some amount of time, kind of checking, like getting input from everybody, their aim is to release a final draft somewhere before the end of this year. And that's great, I guess. Diablo, Apple sure did the bare minimum. Oh boy, am I going to talk about that in a second. I mean, I already did, but I got more words to say on that. Anyway, so Google did, Google and Apple, in theory, will have this draft out by the end of the year, at which point the makers of trackers will hopefully have ways of updating their existing trackers, and then they're going to presumably release all new trackers supporting this standard. That's, I think, the idea. Whether or not it happens, how it happens, we'll have to wait and see, because a few companies have already basically said that certain models of older trackers, they just can't update. There will be no fixing those. They just are what they are, and there won't be much new that they can do. Future trackers, we'll see. And I still have a question, like, will it be possible with any of the networks to maybe build trackers that can still continue tracking, but will somehow be able to work in a way so that they can't be detected like this? Like, they just won't work with the with this fishy, or with this system for fishing out unwanted trackers. Hey DX, how's it going? You're catching me during podcast day. Oh, and I did see did creative mode launch? Is that what I saw? Because I thought that wasn't supposed to be for a couple more days. Anyway, so about the Bluetooth trackers, or various trackers. Anyway, so about the actually about Apple's part in this. I hold Apple isn't just doing the bare minimum. They pushed as far out as possible to avoid doing better. Because let's be honest, this is all happening now because Google is finally going to be releasing its trackers. At the bottom of their post, they make it very clear. The very last line is, Google will share more on how we're combating unwanted tracking at Google I/O 2023. Yeah, no, that's because they're going to be launching their own trackers. We now know this to be the case. Or at least they're announcing. I still don't know if they're launching them, but they're going to announce them. The thing that stands out to me here is I think at some point they obviously told Apple that they're going to be launching their own thing. I think in addition to telling Apple that Google's got its own trackers, which I'm going to call the Nest Tracker. I don't know if that'll be it, but we're going to go with Nest Tracker. When they launch the Nest Tracker, or rather the fact that they're about to launch Nest Trackers, we know that there's going to be an Android-wide net for location tracking, exactly like the way Apple's trackers work. And basically this is going to be the thing that takes on Apple, plain and simple. So Nest Locator Tag, good name. That's what's been circulating, right? I guess simple and straight to the point. Yeah. Was it Locator Tag? I don't know. I just know that at this point, I've seen so many people predicting or claiming that I think some people claim they know it's going to be under the Nest brand. I'm just going to go with the assumption it's a Nest Tracker. Whatever the exact name is, we'll see. But I think assuming it's part of Nest is the given now. But the reality is, I think if Google wasn't launching their trackers this year, Apple wouldn't be part of this program to fight unwanted trackers this year. I think if Google had launched last year, Apple would have jumped on board last year. That's the whole thing. I think Apple has basically been saying AirTags are going to be a poison pill to anyone that's not on an iPhone, up until the point where we could have the same thing done to us. The moment where Google's trackers could be used to possibly follow around iPhone users, well, then we're going to make sure we're on board with everything. We'll play nice now, but not any time before then. And I think that's why we're seeing it happening exactly now. And it's even happening late. Let's be honest, Apple could have been a part of this organization 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They could have honestly worked with Google before all of this stuff even came out to make AirTag's network even more robust and more complete. But they didn't want to. And I'm fairly convinced that they knew it was going to work out this way. NYC have been promoting AirTags to prevent car thefts. Yeah, I've heard that. The only problem is there are so many stories about people using AirTags in the service of car theft. And not only for car theft, but also for things like apparently there was I don't know how much news this got, but apparently there was a robbery ring going where people were going around and putting AirTags on cars in like a neighborhood and they were waiting to see when enough AirTags had left a specific neighborhood that they figured it was effectively an unprotected spot, and they would go rob the houses. Like, there have been so many people using AirTags for this kind of stuff, and let's be honest, if the robbers are smart, they're carrying around iPhones and they're scanning for the AirTags and disabling them, so, or removing them entirely. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure how effective AirTags are going to be in preventing car theft, but who knows? Anyway, so at 9 to 5 brought up the Finder network, which has been pretty widely covered by a lot of places. So this is going to be kind of the universal mesh network. It's going to be the thing that is kind of, in theory, enabling various trackers to work, even if someone, or even if the devices around them might not be part of the network. That's always been one of the problems for Tile. It's one of the problems for whatever the names of the others are. Chipolo, Eufy, Pebblebee, which, my god, some of the names. But if people don't have the apps installed to work with those particular brands, basically they wouldn't be able to get decent location. You would just get the location that they were last detected by an app that was compatible. Anyway, presumably, you read that as Chipotle. I know, so did I. I couldn't not every single time I saw Chipolo, it's like, remind myself, this is not something that's going to get you chicken and very expensive guacamole. Anyway, so it's still unclear if the Finder network is going to necessarily support all of the different brands, because Tile in particular seems like a very unlikely one. And there's still questions if Samsung is going to be part of the list. But in theory, one of the things it will be a part of is detecting AirTags. And whether or not it will share that information and expand the AirTag network is also unclear, but it could happen, and that would be good. Likewise, it would be really good if Apple's iPhones might start working with other brands. Like, for real, not just halfway. Diablo, hopefully Samsung does. They do dominate Android. Okay, so the thing is, Google's Finder network is going to go out to all partner phones anyway. Now, I agree, Samsung's trackers ideally should work with that network, but it won't really matter. Because it'll only matter to people who have Samsung trackers. When all is said and done, though, Google's own trackers, the Nest tags or Nest trackers, whatever they'll be, in practical use, those should work with any Android phone, no matter what, whether it's a Samsung phone or not. In effect, it is always going to be in Samsung's best interest to team up on this Finder network, because that means that any non-Samsung Android phone that is a Google partner, so we're talking OnePlus, Pixel, etc. In theory, that means that if they join the Finder network, they should be able to get data out of it, and it'll basically make trackers usable across the board. We can hope. We'll see. And Diablo, exactly. Oh, if the phone does, never mind. Yeah, that's the thing. The Finder network will remove the need for a companion app for a particular tracker to be supported. Or at least that's the idea. So it is entirely in Samsung's benefit to support this, just like it would be in Apple's benefit to support this. And we'll see what actually happens here. But I'm not overly worried about it. I just don't think we're going to see... I feel like we're not going to see Apple jumping on board with this. But I don't know. Nevertheless, as long as the Finder network will do persistent scanning for AirTags that are following you around, that's enough to basically invalidate them. Of course, this also brings up the always important question: will a Google-made tracker work with Apple's AirTag network? Have a funny feeling that they're going to be real dicks about that. Google might support AirTags, but I have a feeling Apple will not be supporting Nest tags. But we'll see. Let's see. I'll leave that open for a second, but switching over to just something cringy. Microsoft apparently is forcing Outlook and Teams to open links in Edge. And, well, as The Verge says, IT administrators not thrilled. But yeah, so we've seen this kind of thing before. Microsoft just decides that all of a sudden, one day, they're going to make one of their key apps will just start ignoring whatever your default browser is. Sorry, by the way, I've been forgetting all night to paste in links, so here you go. Here's the one link I'll remember to paste in. Yeah, so apparently, Microsoft has a long-running history of just kind of casually ignoring whatever the default browser set in Windows is, and using instead, first it was Internet Explorer, now it's Edge. Basically just deciding, yeah, we don't care what you picked, we're just going to send you to our browser anyway. And in a limited set of scenarios, I think that actually makes a little bit of sense. You know, if it's an OS security issue, go ahead, you can use Edge. The rest of the time, and this is the rest of the time, send me to whatever browser I picked. Send me to whatever browser the IT administrator picked. Send me to any browser that is not what you picked, and we're okay. But you definitely need to send me to a browser that somebody picked. So yeah, anyway, apparently this is happening, or rather going to be happening with something else. What was it? Oh, where is it? Oh, I know I saw this earlier, but yeah, so they were going to make this change in the Windows 10 Mail app, but backed down because there was a lot of backlash and hate. They tried doing it in... they tried to force Chrome's default search engine to Bing using the Office 365 installer. Let's see, I swear there was another one coming. Maybe I already skipped past it. But anyway, yeah, so apparently just Microsoft across the board is trying to force people into using Bing anywhere that their products are being used. Or, sorry, not Bing, though that too. But Microsoft is trying to force everybody onto using Edge, which, terrible practice. You shouldn't be doing this, ever. And I mean, you as in Microsoft should not be forcing people into using your browser just because you want them to. So yeah, this isn't a great strategy. But it does kind of go along with the fact that lately that has been Microsoft's whole thing, is pushing really, really hard to get people using Bing and Edge. Obviously, they did that with their chatbot, which you have to be using Edge and Bing for. They are going to continue doing this, I think, with pretty much all of their subscription services. This is just going to be a thing, and exactly as Austin said, are we in an endless cycle of tech browser monopolies? Yes. Yes, that is precisely it. The thing is, though, at this point, well, not even at this point. I think we're halfway through. We're halfway through that being just a constant thing. Because remember when it was Safari? Like, Apple really pushed hard to make sure people were always going to use Safari. And it kind of started to work for a hot minute, as you actually saw people on Windows willingly installing Safari so that they could get iPhone-only versions of websites. Fortunately, that ship kind of died in the middle of the ocean and sank itself. Because Safari on Windows, that dead. And I think we're probably not ever going to see that return, or I hope not. We live in the Microsoft browser monopoly simulation. I like that. Anyway, so yeah. We're obviously going to see Microsoft and Google kind of duking it out politely for a while on this, but ultimately, I hate to say it, I think Microsoft is just going to pick a few things and they're never going to give up. They're always going to be pushing people, and as long as you use whatever those select things are, you're pretty much just going to have to put up with the fact that Edge is going to be the default forced upon you browser. It sucks, but that's the way it goes. Though, to be fair, I think a lot of people would be thrilled to see Google not be as forceful with their browser. But hey, it is what it is. So I don't know. I didn't really have a lot to say on this, but it fits into the whole, wow, this just sucks. It just sucks. Microsoft needs to not do this kind of stuff because it's forming enemies. It's incentivizing people to kind of hate using your operating system, because the things that should happen when you use an operating system should be predictable. They should be reliable. They should be consistent. We should not find ourselves clicking on something thinking, okay, I'm gonna click on this link in my mail app and it's gonna load in my web browser. Wait, what? Why is a different web browser opening? What's happening? Why? No, I didn't want that. Oh crap, now previously open tabs are opening. Woo! Hey, this is awesome. Cool, now my computer's running slower. Why do I have to have two browsers open? I don't want two browsers open. I want the one open that has all of my passwords in it, or all of my settings, all of my extensions. Goody! Now other bad things have happened. Oh crap, that tab that I left open last night on my laptop that's not supposed to be open on a work network, it's now open. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's happening. It needs to not happen. Microsoft, this is okay. When I started switching away from Windows to Mac OS, this was not the reason I did it. But I'd be lying if I said this wasn't a bit of the incentive. Microsoft was making a lot of bad choices in general. I wouldn't say they were making a lot of bad choices for me and other users, but they were doing that too. And it was obvious they were doing it. And sure, I switched to an OS where you've got a company that very happily makes a lot of bad choices for its users. But a lot of them were not so brazenly a middle finger to your choices. They were more of a statement that the company just chose no longer to support a certain function or feature. You may not like that they took something away, but it was always in the form of, yeah, we don't want to support widgets anymore. No one's using them. Tough luck. If you use them, it's not our problem. Microsoft is sitting here saying, oh, We don't like your browser choice. Tough luck. We just don't like your browser choice. It doesn't matter that it's the most popular browser. We're just not going to respect it. These are two different messages. And while Apple certainly is very self-serving as a company, and I mean, I literally just called them out for weaponizing one of their things against another OS or whole platform. The fact of the matter is, this is one spot that makes Microsoft just look petty and desperate, and it's not helping them. This is part of what makes people leave Windows to go to Linux or Mac OS, or to buy a cabin in the woods and just like a bunch of guns and never talk to humans again. Yes, I'm blaming Windows for conspiracy theories or conspiracy theorists. Anyway, Diablo, it makes it difficult choosing my next PC when all choices stink. But are you really looking at switching? Because I think a lot of people still don't really want to switch operating systems. It's more that if you're already on the edge of, no pun intended, but if you're already on the edge of switching, this is the kind of thing that pushes you over. Or this might be the thing that pushes you to the edge, and some other thing will throw you over into trying Linux for a little while, or trying Mac OS, or whatever. Anyway, let's see. So, final topic, and I didn't actually. This is the one I didn't get to read. By the way, if anyone has any definite I need to also hit topics, feel free to mention it. But, oh, what is this? Diablo pasted in earlier. Google Passkey support will replace your built-in security key starting May 3rd, 2023. Phone security key getting replaced. Okay. Interesting. So I guess that kind of answers a little bit more about the security or passkey situation. Diablo, you keep getting enticed by Mac Mini prices, but didn't plunge. Out of curiosity, I'm going to ask you this because I think the Mac Mini is a really cool price and machine. But in my mind, I have trouble figuring out who it's for in mini instances. I'm curious why you would choose a Mac Mini instead of either... Well, you can't really go to iMac yet and get good Apple Silicon options. Or wait, can you? Now I don't remember. I thought they launched... They did launch an iMac with Apple Silicon, right? Easy enough to check. iMac 24. Yeah. Yeah, okay, they do have an M1 chip in there. Okay, I think it's still an old one or something. Oh, well, that's Buyer's Guide. Macs. iMac is, yep, iMac's in the don't buy category. Okay, that says it all. Okay, so the thing is, I always wonder why people think about getting a Mac Mini. It's not that I have anything against it. It's more that I figure in most instances, if you want a Mac of any kind, 9 times out of 10, you probably want one of the laptops, either an Air or Pro. And depending on circumstances, maybe it'll like which one of the Pros will also factor in. Honestly, there's actually almost never a time to get the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Just get the MacBook Air, at least right now. We'll see if maybe that changes in the future. Austin, M3 could be delayed because of TSMC. The 3 nanometer node. But yeah, anyway, So for pricing, I totally understand the incentive to look at a Mac Mini. It is ridiculously cheap to get into a Mac. Or well, compared to previous Mac prices, it's ridiculously cheap. And is a really good computer. It makes a lot of sense for some specific purposes, but I always question, like, what are the specific use cases that would get you going to a Mac Mini instead of the laptop? Because most of the arguments most of the reasons I hear for it, it sounds like people would often be let down by something. Typically, like, if you're a gamer, the Mac Mini, I mean, it's got a tempting quality to it, but obviously game availability is a big problem. If you're looking for a Mac for work purposes, typically that's when you want the laptop. If you're looking for, or if you're used to traveling with a computer, you always want a laptop. Yeah, the Mac Mini it's great. And it feels great to me as a second computer. I don't have one, but I think it would feel great for that. But I'm never really sure what the use case is for, like, a primary computer. Except obviously to keep it cheap. Anyway, not super important. Let's see. So this last thing, or at least I think last thing, unless someone throws something else at me. So Ford plans to stick with CarPlay as General Motors moves to phase out support. So we have heard about this somewhat recently. General Motors is basically switching to Android Automotive, or rather Google Built-in. I hate that name. That is such a terrible name. But yeah, apparently Ford, presumably, I guess it's going to be sticking with this, though I have a funny feeling they say that they're going to keep support for CarPlay, but probably this actually means supporting both CarPlay and Android Auto instead of moving to Android Automotive. That's my guess. So Ford CEO Jim Farley said that they do not plan to drop CarPlay. 70% of Ford customers in the US are Apple customers. I go to an Apple customer and say good luck. It's a fair argument. Let's see. Farley was commenting on car manufacturers that do not support CarPlay, like Tesla and General Motors. Tesla has never added CarPlay support to its vehicles, and GM earlier this year announced plans to phase out CarPlay and Android Auto starting in 2023. I hate how every single place covering this is like, yeah, they're going to phase out both of these things, but they don't then follow up immediately by saying they're upgrading to the better the thing that came after Android Auto, the better thing. Come on, guys, write better. And sorry to Mac Rumors, I'm not trying to beat up on you here, but this is something that should have been said better. Let's see. Anyway, GM plans to go with the built-in infotainment system co-developed with Google as it transitions from combustion vehicles to electric vehicles. Yeah, okay. Saying it in the next paragraph still feels like you're trying to freak people out. CarPlay will be available in non-electric models, but GM ultimately plans to switch to an all-electric lineup by 2035. Golly, not before 2035, huh? Okay. Awesome. Google Assistant just let you know GM is dripping. Dropping assistant actions on June 13th. Yikes. That's actually that seems kind of quick. But okay. iPhone users have been asking Tesla to support CarPlay for years, and unsurprisingly, GM's announcement has not been particularly popular with those who are in the Apple ecosystem. By removing control of the infotainment system from Apple, GM and Tesla have access to more data about their customers and can push vehicle-related digital subscription services. They can also push customers away from their cars. That's Yeah, yes, you can get more info from your customers, but you can also have fewer customers. Which one's better? Come on. Farley doesn't think there's money to be made in the content that car owners consume in their vehicles, with Ford instead focusing on safety, security, autonomy, and productivity features. To be fair, Farley might not be that smart because he doesn't think there's money to be made there. There definitely is. But that being said, is it worth it? Probably not. It's better just to have more customers. In terms of content, we kind of lost the battle 10 years ago. So, sorry, this is a quote from him. So, like, get real with it, because you're not going to make a ton of money on content inside the vehicle. It's going to be safety, security, partial autonomy, and productivity in our eyes. So that relationship for content is between you, the Wall Street Journal, and the customer. I don't want to get into the middle of that, but Tesla and other companies believe differently. They want to have complete control over the interior experience. He's making a great sounding argument. I mean, he's technically wrong, but he's not wrong in the way that hurts too much. But he's taking the fact that they don't want to fight on this terrain where they're not going to do very well, and they don't want to try to collect data, which would actually be good for sales or advertising purposes. But he's making it sound like this is a higher-minded decision where it's just not worth it to go chasing after those other things. And that's a good sales pitch. Anyway, having a familiar navigation and infotainment system in the car is appealing to customers who don't want to have to transition between two incompatible software setups. So GM's decision to drop CarPlay or support for CarPlay and Android Auto will be off-putting to those who have become used to the way that in-car solutions from Apple and Google extend the smartphone experience to the vehicle. Wrong again, because Android Automotive. And yes, I'm going to keep calling it that until Google comes up with a better name that is not Google built in. Anyway, no CarPlay will be a deal breaker for some customers. That's true. So it will be interesting to see how GM's transition affects future vehicle sales. Austin, the GM, the revolutionary software company. I know, right? Starting in 2023, Apple plans to roll out next-generation CarPlay experience that will offer even deeper integration into new vehicles from manufacturers who choose to continue to offer CarPlay as an option. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm curious what that'll actually look like, because deeper integration sounds kind of like we're gonna ask new vehicle makers to let us do more, but we're still going to make this dependent on the phone. Whereas, honestly, don't get me wrong, I'm still nervous about how Android Automotive is going to play out in the long run with updates, but I would much rather have that in the car. What I personally want is kind of the hybrid, where, frankly, I want something that runs in the car natively, it works natively, and does not really require the phone to be there, or it can connect to the phone wirelessly for minor hints. Like, I don't want the mirrors. I don't want screen mirroring to happen. I don't want a projection happening over wireless. What I want happening is give me a system where the phone tells the car, this is the driver, this is who's controlling it, this is maybe the GPS coordinates, these are a few other details, this is what they want to play or already had playing. But the car should take over. It should do everything after that. Anyway, you want a Mac Mini. Okay, look, for real, if I could have a Mac Mini in my car, hoo boy. Yes, please. Now. Okay. Yeah. So everything he's saying sounds pretty good. Aside from the fact that he's technically wrong in a lot of spots, he's also more right in the decision than he is wrong. If you're an iPhone user, you don't want to be forced onto Android Automotive. I think most people will agree to that. Even if Android Automotive is just a much better experience, which it seems like it will be, I think a lot of iPhone users will come away saying, but we'd still rather just have what's on our phone working on our car. And they'll stick to that. It is what it is. What I feel like I'm seeing happening is Ford is making the right call for the minute. I don't think it's going to be the right call in a couple of years. And in a couple of years, they can change direction. That's fine. At the same time, I also have to agree with what Farley's saying. GM is probably making a mistake for right now. They are going to push away a lot of iPhone users. And anyone else who is offering CarPlay is going to attract those users. Or those customers. We'll see how much of an effect that has. And also, I think once we see Android Automotive being rolled out and more fully customized, and possibly maybe Google will even work out some sort of arrangement with Apple where CarPlay will work on Android Automotive in some capacity. Well, support for CarPlay's protocol or something might work on Android Automotive. Somehow I will get words out and they will not sound completely twisted and contorted. But if anything like that can be worked out, honestly, it's gonna make Ford's decision look really bad. So for now, Ford is probably making the better choice in terms of customer retention. I think GM will be making the better choice in sort of future-looking plans for the cars. And sort of future-proofing their cars, which, yes, I know I'm even saying that about a platform that is, by design, probably not going to be that future-proofed. But we'll see. Awesome. GM canceled their best-selling EV and the cheapest EV in the US and will not have a replacement for 13 months. Okay, look, I'm not saying GM makes good decisions anywhere. I'm just saying that I think they probably pick the right infotainment system for the long run. All their other decisions suck so much. We know that. I feel like GM doesn't make a lot of good decisions in General Motors. Yeah. I don't know. One thing I will say though is I feel mostly happy that, or I feel as an Android user, I think we do have the best deal for us. Like, iPhone users are in this weird split situation where a lot of car companies are making the decision now. Do they want to switch to Android Automotive or do they want to stick with CarPlay and Android Auto? And obviously, as an iPhone user, you kind of want to pick the company that's sticking with CarPlay. Whereas if you're an Android user, you're probably sitting there going, you know what? It doesn't matter. As long as I get anything that's not a Tesla, I'm getting something that probably is going to be pretty friendly to my phone. This is one of the few times it's actually like explicitly better to be an Android user than it is to be an iPhone user. Awesome. They built a Hummer EV. Yeah. That doesn't seem like a great vehicle. So yeah. So again, I think Ford's making the right decision for right now. But if Farley is not sitting there working out some kind of a plan to switch to Android Automotive in the relatively near future, it's probably a mistake. And maybe switch is the wrong word. maybe what Ford should be doing, and I say this knowing full well that this is probably a long stretch, maybe what Ford should be doing is rolling this out as an optional. As in, you can get your car with Android Auto CarPlay support, or for an extra, well, let's be honest, it's Ford, so for an extra $400, you could get Android Automotive. That would be a thing that, let's be honest, would work pretty well with a lot of customers. And a lot of people would be very happy to do that upgrade. Also, or alternatively, they could start rolling out like one model gets CarPlay Android Auto, the other model, or a different model, is going to get automotive. And that could be just the thing that they go with. And depending on which models seem to appeal to which customers, awesome. It'll be a subscription service. I mean, is that really Ford's thing? I know that's BMW's thing. BMW is a whore with this kind of stuff, and Tesla has become a whore with this kind of stuff. And if you're talking like higher end companies, I believe Rolls-Royce was going to be doing this. Ferrari, I think, was going subscription with their stuff too. Yeah, these companies are doing evil. It'll be everyone's thing with EVs. God, I hope not. The absolute last thing I want to do is pay more for the car, have batteries that and yes, I know in theory the you won't be paying for gas, so presumably you'll be paying less in terms of you're paying for electricity instead of gas. But got to make up for the loss and maintenance on EVs, right? But the last thing I want to do is have a persistent subscription on a car, especially when, as I mentioned this in the past, I don't have the exact mileage for my car handy, but I'm pretty sure I'm still under 30,000 miles. This is a car I bought in, let's see. If I search for that. Yeah, so I bought this car in 2015. I bought this car in 2015. It's 2020. Jesus Christ, I've had this car a long time. And it's still under 30,000 miles. I don't drive it that often. It literally sat for close to a month during 2020. Or actually maybe over a month during 2020. Anyway, it sat for a really long time because I just did not need to drive anywhere for a while. I don't want to pay subscriptions on a car that I don't use enough. Your 6-month-old car has 9,000 miles. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Back when I was in college, I had a car that I ended up putting... I know I put for sure 175 miles on it on my own. And that was in about 4 years, 5 years, something like that. Yeah, I put crazy mileage on that car. Ridiculous mileage on that car. And because I was driving it so much, like even my mechanic said, you don't need to get oil changes every few thousand miles when you drive as much as you do. Like when you've got someone who gets paid to change your oil telling you, no, seriously, don't come in as often. Like that tells you something. So yeah, I do need to replace this car sometime. Anyway, and not the point, but yeah, the thing is, right now I'm driving so little, I don't want to pay a subscription for things in my car. And I'm really dreading that becoming a regular business model because, look, if the question is, do you want to pay a subscription for something, or, I don't know, strap a tablet in front of your infotainment system, honestly, like, strapping a tablet to the infotainment system starts becoming a real appealing option. And I don't want that to become the option. And if it does become the option, I know that this won't realistically happen, but Austin, you think they're banking on more people living in their cars? Ooh, wow, that is brutal. And man, to think, if it was a few years ago, I would think that when you're saying that, you just mean more people are going to be commuting a lot more. But no. Right now, that is a clear homelessness topic, and yikes. Also, probably true. That being said, why would anyone, if you're literally living in your car at that point, you probably don't need to pay for those subscriptions. Because if you're living in your car, and let's assuming you've got a job of any form, you're probably not driving long enough distances that you even need to use Android Auto or Automotive. Tiny home, new mode, car home. Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to go down the road of homelessness as a topic right now, but yeah, the sad part is I could 100% see that being a truly cringe-worthy scenario. Someone out there probably is applying that logic, and God, I hope they really aren't. That being said, also, can you imagine the executive working at BMW who's like, okay, listen. Bear with me. What if our customers are paying a subscription, but living out of their really nice car? I'm just saying, as long as they're paying us, we don't care. This does sound like a BMW thing. Austin, it's all gig economy from here. I mean, it already kind of is, yeah. That makes up... it's not a majority of workers, but there has to be one. Oh God, I'm sure there is. But yeah, no, the gig economy thing is clearly taking over in a big way. Like, I've heard of restaurants that have taken to hiring wait staff and telling them that they're contractors, and they're giving them like, they're not giving them W-2s to work there. It's like, really? This is what you're gonna do now? You're going to make even wait staff work as contractors so that you don't have to give them insurance, and you don't have to cover them, and you can fire them without with less paperwork? Like, that's the strategy here? Yeah, companies are getting awful. Awesome. BMW will charge people rent for living in their car. I mean, they always say you're supposed to lease a BMW. I don't see a difference. Well, hey, did you see that really weird modular home that Elon Musk was hyping up? Let's be honest. his goal someday is to sell people like a package deal. You can get a Tesla and this little mini cubicle box to live in for, you can lease both of them, and they will both wear out just about as fast, and they will both be made with the same level of quality, which basically means your walls might literally fall off someday. When it rains, it just leaks down one whole side of the wall. God, it's terrible to even think of this. It just is. We're living in dystopian world. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of dystopian, just as a side note, don't watch the movie 65 with Adam Driver. It's just not good. That one's not good. I watched Quasi. It's all right. Not the greatest, but it's okay. It's a watchable movie if you're really down for like a straight up just kind of stupid movie. It's from the same guys who did Super Troopers. I wouldn't call it great, but it's funny if you like the style of humor. Let's see, what else have I watched recently? Not that anyone necessarily cares about the movies, but what were the damn it, I am just totally blanking on what the other things I just recently watched were. Hold on as I figure this out in really, really rapid fashion. I watched Scream 6. It's has anyone watched Succession? I've been curious about that show myself. There's so much hype about it that I kind of want to see it, but I also am reluctant because a lot of the shows with hype tend to not live up to it. I did watch Scream 6. It is another Scream movie. It's not the best one, but it's far from being the worst one. So, if you like Scream movies, watch it. If you don't like Scream movies, move on. Austin, you're 5 episodes in, it's not very good. Is it possible? Man, I hate saying this because I know it's not that many episodes of a show, but is it possible it's one of those shows where it's only good once you get past like the first season? I haven't heard. I didn't hear about Succession until this year. That's kind of the weird thing. I just did not hear about it until like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago or so, maybe a little more. So it feels weird to not hear about a show until it's in its 3rd season. But that's kind of what happened. And then Evil Dead. I did not really check it out. I like the original in its own weird, it's pure cringe kind of way. As I've described it in the past, there was this local video store that used to be around here. I was looking through movies one day as a kid, and I passed by the box for the original Evil Dead, and it had a post-it note on it that like no other movie had a post-it note, but this one had just a yellow post-it note with the words "so bad it's good." Like, that sums up the original Evil Dead. And honestly, I think all the good Evil Dead movies were kind of the bad ones. Like, they were terrible, which is what made them good. The newer stuff just didn't interest me. I've seen the trailers, and I don't know, they just didn't call to me. Awesome. Should I give up now, or if I don't like it, or... Oh, should I give up now if I don't like it, or continue on? I'm sure you mean the Succession. I have no idea personally, but yeah, I'm in that category too, where I don't know that I want to watch it because, like I said, I hadn't heard about it until just now, and the show's about to wrap up, or is wrapped up. I forget. Like, it, you know, that's weird when a show only seems to matter to people when it's in its last season and it's basically about to die. You know, like Star Trek Picard. Season 1, everyone hated. Season 2, pretty much everyone hated. Season 3, oh my god, it's amazing. So I'm told. I have not actually watched anything but the first episode of Season 1. But everyone talks about that as if it is now finally the, like, they finally got it right. And that seems kind of disappointing. Or something. Like, I don't know that I want to make that commitment to watch it when it sounds like it's basically 2 seasons of terrible followed by 1 season you'll finally have a payoff in. But to be fair, I feel like that's how I'm watching a lot of stuff lately. By the way, did anybody watch Avatar 2? My god, it was so dull. It was so boring. It was not... Why... How does that... How did it... I don't get it. The first Avatar was bad enough. The second one was just so much more boring. I know some people will like it, I'm sure. And I'm not judging anyone who likes it. But god, it just... I had to struggle so much to care. The only thing I'll give them is in the second one, the final fight actually was like a good final fight. In the first one, the final fight was garbage. In the second one, like, the setting is kind of neat. Some of the premise is neat, though not all of it. Yeah, they could have done better. Awesome, yeah, pretty bad of a plot. Oh, pretty but bad plot and writing and acting. Yes. God, yeah. And I don't even know that I want to give it pretty. Like, yes, it's pretty, but it's pretty in that... It's pretty in that, like, CG realm kind of way. Like, yeah, they made some neat scenes, but they don't look... They don't have that look to them that actually looks really beautiful. Like, there's some movies out there that are shot on real places that just look stunning. They look amazing. Which, speaking of, actually, 65 with Adam Driver. The movie's kind of crap. But whoever came up with the cinematography for it, and I think they just CG'd the whole, most of the backgrounds. I could be wrong, but they don't, too many of them don't look real. Or I can't think of where they could have been shot. But it looked like a video game cutscene to you? Yeah. Well, I don't know which one you're talking about, 65 or Avatar, but both of them look like video game cutscenes. But 65, at least, those look like cutscenes from like a PS5. Whereas Avatar, I'm sorry, but they look like cutscenes from a PS3. Maybe PS4, like, early days. It looks like something that belongs in, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn. The original. I mean, they're pretty, but they look like they're lacking detail. They feel almost missing in depth. Yeah, and the colors are too bright and fakey and weird. which I gotta say is actually one of the things that what was the name of that movie that was oh, maybe City of Thousand Planets, I think. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Yeah. I mean, the movie is it's fun. There's some neat things in it. Like, there's some really cool ideas in it. But there's a lot of fakey looking stuff in it, but they did the colors really neat. It's a pretty movie. And I mean, it looks fakey as hell. But they did it better. And for a movie that came out 6 years ago, 6-ish, oh yeah, no, I didn't watch it in high frame rate either. No way in hell was I gonna do that. God, I forgot that was a thing with it too. That is so dumb. You can't switch frame rates at mid-movie. That is not okay. That is not okay, Avatar. Not okay at all. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anything nice to say about it, and I kind of just don't have anything. It was not an enjoyable movie. I also watched the recent Shazam. You know what? I feel like the recent Shazam, the Fury of the Gods, the way I've been describing it is Marvel. It's like it's an MCU movie, Phase 2. It fits in so well with Phase 2. It's not. It doesn't have a lot of depth to it. It's a lot of jokes. Like every 30 seconds, there's got to be a joke. But it's fine. You know, it's still better than any other MCU or DCU movie, or DCEU. Sorry. But that's the most that I feel I could say about it. It's just better than the other DCU movies. Like, and I don't think it's better than the first. But, you know, it's close. They're on par. Next I need to watch I'm gonna watch the Ant-Man movies back through and get into Quantumania. I'm also gonna watch Ghosted. I don't know exactly when I'll get to all of them, but yeah, those are the next ones that I want to hit. Ghosted actually looks good to me, even if it's, I'm sure, going to be a fairly generic movie. I've heard not great things about Quantumania. We shall see. But I have this funny feeling that any Marvel movie right now is just, they're all going to feel the same. They're very, very samey in their kind of shtick. I don't know. My motivation for Marvel movies is just completely flatlined. I still haven't watched the new Black Panther movie. There is zero desire for me in that movie. I didn't really care much about the first one. Like, it was fine. I didn't hate it, but I don't think it was particularly great. And Ant-Man, I really liked the first one. The second one I was very iffy about, and this third one, everyone seems to think it was worse than all of them. So, yeah, that's not singing high praise to me. So yeah, I don't know. My movie selection feels not ideal at the moment. I'm hoping for something special to come out real soon. I don't know what, but I want something to come out that just leaves me going, oh yeah, that was actually good. And I haven't had that movie in a good little while. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I guess that's where I'm at. Um, Still feeling like TV's probably been a lot better than movies. Oh, anyway, so I would say I have more than achieved the 15-minute warning necessary to keep the world from ending. Um, let's see. So this weekend I will be, I will Austin, The Little Mermaid. You know, I really liked the animated version many years ago. That I always considered actually the best Disney movie, mostly because it had the best music. Um, I'm like, not for any of the political reasons or the drama or anything like that. I just don't really care about seeing their live action remakes. Because everyone I've talked to, admittedly, I'm not really watching any of the live actions of the Disney movies, except I did watch Aladdin. I did watch that one, which actually that one wasn't that great. I mean, Will Smith actually did a pretty good job in it, but oh wait, and oh goddamn, there's a huge fly in here. By the way, those who remember that zapper that I used to use all the time, it's broken. I need to order a new one. I hate flies so much. Anyway, you think it looks awful? Yeah. So the thing is, everyone I've talked to about Disney's live action movies, everyone's saying basically the same thing. They're not good. They're kind of disappointing, especially since a lot of them involve, not all of them, but a lot of them involve animals. And because they're not really, like, doing a good job turning the animals into, like, CG characters or anthropomorphizing them properly or any of that stuff, then the movies end up losing a lot of their character. Or they become uncanny or creepy or something like that. Yeah, I'm not holding a lot of optimism for any of their live action stuff. And I've also heard the acting has been, or maybe it's the directing, I'm not really sure, but I've heard a lot of pretty iffy things about people's takes on all of their live action remakes. So yeah, I just don't feel a lot of motivation to give a shot to The Little Mermaid. Maybe it'll be good, but I kind of just doubt it. Yeah, we got a good image in our heads. Changing that makes it worse. Yeah, that's exactly it. A lot of those Disney classics, they were really good in their form. Don't mess with them. It's not like you need to. They will keep selling really well. Oh yeah, like, I watched Mulan. Did anyone else watch Mulan? That was not good. It was okay at best. Like, it was extraordinary mediocrity. And for a movie that so many people loved, and for them to even kind of change it as much as they did, I don't think that was a good choice. And yeah, they're not really nailing the rest of them. And Mulan should have been one of the easiest ones to transition, because, I mean, let's be honest, like, you're just making a kind of regular movie with a fairly familiar plot. You don't have to mess around with animals. You don't have to do any weird stuff to make that one work. And they still kind of got it wrong. It shouldn't happen. Trying to think what else was there. I might have watched Jungle Book. Actually, I'm pretty sure I saw Jungle Book. And it was, again, like, it was a movie. It didn't, was it Jungle Book? It had to be. Like, it was a movie, but it didn't really, it didn't jump out at me as what it didn't jump out as being what it originally was, and it didn't seem particularly good. So yeah, that was not a big winner in my book either. Yeah, they're an easy cash grab for Disney. The thing is, Disney can make good movies. They've been doing it for ages. You don't have to just rehash the same old stuff. And honestly, I don't think these are really going to be those good of cash grabs. If what they could do is, frankly, just even do their typical re-release of old movies, or they could, well, I hate saying make a sequel, but they could. Or just, I don't know. I feel like the live actions aren't really making them that much money, though. That's kind of the problem. The live actions, I know they're making them money, but are they making them that much that it's worth it? At this point, Disney should probably be looking at some of its other properties. Look at what they did with Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, that to me is a perfect example. They took a goofball ride that was kind of like for kids, despite some of the stuff that was wildly inappropriate. They took a ride that was for kids, invented the characters to fill out the story, and made it into a franchise, a movie franchise that absolutely rocked everybody. It was so good for at least the first one. And let's ignore the fact that they kind of screwed it up in the following two, but those still made boatloads of money. Pun accidental, but I'm going to claim it. And then they made a couple more that were crap, but hey, they still made money. Lion King made 1.6 billion? Ugh. I never watched it, so, you know. But I'm still gonna go with ugh. Man, what? Where? But okay, I mean, I'm not doubting you. That feels like a worldwide must have given it more money than US did. But with all that said, you know, look at Super Mario Brothers. They just absolutely obliterated records with that movie. And I mean, come on. That was some low effort stuff. Or, you know, it at least looks that way. I admit I haven't watched it, but it looks pretty low effort. At least they didn't like write a very compelling, like super thought out plot. They made a simple plot for kids. They didn't like do the Pixar thing where it was really here's a beautiful thing for adults, but it's also good for kids. We're gonna sneak all kinds of clever things into it that's kind of perfect for all the different ages. They didn't do that. We'll 100% have a new live action Super Mario Brothers in like 10 years. Oh, where is Zach to argue for the resurrection of Bob Hoskins? John Leguizamo returns as a Goomba. Watch it happen. No, I wonder. I do wonder. I agree. I think. Okay, so here's the thing. I was making a joke about this the other day, but I kind of think it'll end up being true. I think we're going to end up seeing Mario appearing in movies from Nintendo about as often as we see Mario appearing in games from Nintendo. Give it like 5 years, there will be a Mario Paint movie. Watch. There will be a Mario Paint movie. It will happen. And when it does, Nintendo is going to laugh its way to the effing bank, because people will still be eating that up. They will gobble down every Mario movie that Nintendo will give you. It's going to be cringy. It's going to be awful. And they won't care. They will be making so much money off of it. And somehow Chris Pratt will suddenly take over as the richest celebrity from Dwayne Johnson. Or making the most each year from Dwayne Johnson. It's gonna be so bad. And also, seriously, a Mario Paint movie, it sounds stupid, it sounds ridiculous. Just wait. It'll happen. Mark my words. The one thing is, will they do live action? I'm sure they will. But I'm kind of curious how they'll go about it. It'll be interesting. Maybe. Hopefully. But I have a feeling it won't be good. And if they do live action Mario, hopefully they don't try to do it from the original games. They should pick something else that's kind of one of the nascent weird things. Actually, maybe Mario Paint would be a good one to do something like that with. I don't know. We'll see. That, or maybe not an actual... Well, okay. What about live action Mario Kart? That could actually be kind of a cool movie. You know, still done as like a kids movie, kind of a speed racer sort of twist. Throw Mario in there. You've got an excuse to throw in some of the other wild characters. Do it as a real hyper reality sort of. All the sets are kind of very CG'd together. You've got obviously some drivers like Bowser, who would just be huge and ridiculous, but it'd be fun. I could see them making a good movie out of that. Maybe. Well, good being subjective. Very, very, very subjective. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I've been babbling enough. My voice is starting to go. So let's see. This weekend, I should be streaming Fall Guys. For those who have been paying attention, should be into its new season. Either just started, or it's going to be very shortly in the next couple of days. Either way, I'll be hopping on this weekend and checking it out. And should be both Saturday and Sunday, I believe. Let's see. I know I say this all the time. There is actually there's not much of a chance. I was going to say there's a chance I'll be doing some photo edits, kind of like as a real last, like no notice. I might just hop on and start doing them. But I don't know that I will be able to do that because of the timing of when I'll probably do it. Anyway. Let's see. So I think that about covers it. As usual, thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Everyone on Patreon, massive thanks. You are keeping this channel active and going. It's a beautiful thing. For those who would like to support, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Patreon, and Cash App. It's always welcome. And to everyone who's been here tonight chatting, thank you for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation. You guys keep this chat entertaining and active, which is wonderful. Let's see. Yeah, and if you won't be back around this weekend, then well, catch me next week. We will hopefully have a Corbin with us again. And if we don't, I will hunt him down and personally throw cans of beans. Not closed cans. I will open the lids of them and just fling the beans at him. He'll be mad, but he'll be okay. He will be unharmed is the key thing. And unless he's got a bean allergy, is that a thing? Let's assume that's a thing. There is a threat. There is a little bit of threat here. Anyway, thank you all for coming by, hanging out. I will see you all next time. And with that, good night, everybody.